Well, I'm located right now at the mouth of what's known as Cabin Run down in Braxton County in the Elk River Wildlife Management Area, right along the right fork of the Holly River. It's a beautiful spot to metal detect, which is what I'm doing here. And right over here in this little ravine is where the creek from Cabin Run dumps out. So if you're facing the run itself, walk over just a little so you could see it. Back up in there. So if you're facing it at the mouth, right off to the left side here, according to a 1915 map, which I'll dub in here, this was a house site right here. So if you see where I've kicked leaves around and done a little digging here, I found a bunch of relics. One very unusual one. And I'm going to walk right back up here to what I would consider the back of the house, away from the river. Right in the center of the screen, that is where most likely they had a cellar house, that little depression there. And you can see the rocks on each side of it, where they would have had that line. There's not much left, but I could tell you this entire ground here, where the map shows the house sitting, is littered with metal. All types of metal. And I'm going to show you on the metal detector how much metal. But before I do that, I was just kind of taking a break here. I'm going to show you what I found so far. One very unusual item. Okay, as would be expected at an old house site, this is one of those tin porcelain glass lined lids for a canning jar. The reason they had this porcelain, the technology back then was so that the food wouldn't be contaminated by the tin. This looks to be a watch, back of a watch of some type right here. There's some writing on it, I can't make it out right now. This big piece of iron here, my guess is probably off an old cook stove. And if you want more evidence of habitation here at one time, it's all part of an old spoon. Another piece of metal, and try to save the best for last right here. I don't know how well that's going to show up. There's an eagle on that and some writing, which I can't make it out right now. So maybe when I get home, I'll clean that up a little better and do some research on it. It's like a button. So I don't think that's not a coin. That's what I thought it was when I first saw it with the eagle there. Got a little excited, but yeah, don't know what it is. So it turns out this strange object is a warranted superior medallion that was embedded in old handsaws. And here's a picture of a handsaw with that medallion. The arrow points to where the medallion would have been. These old type of handsaws, this type particularly, was last used in the 50s. This house site's set up about 25 feet in elevation from where the river is right now. So there'd been no flooding that would ever occur here. And it's a nice little flat that stretches along here from Cabin Run on up the river to what's known as Fall Run in here. And I've seen old pieces of metal as I've walked in here. So this has been used. I don't know the last time anyone lived here. Government bought this land in the 50s, so I know it's been at least that long, 75 years most likely, that this hasn't been used. Probably longer, because the house site shows up on the 1915 map. So we'll do a little more metal detecting. If I find anything, we'll do a little update. If not, you've seen what I found. Show you real quick the equipment I use. It's not an expensive one. Garrett Ace 400. You could look that up, see what the going price is today. I've had this for about 5 or 6 years now. Really does good. I've gone to places and re-metal detected that I used an older Garrett on 25 years ago, and this thing finds things that I did not find the first time around. Also, you got to have that Garrett Pro Pointer 2, some type of pin pointer once you do the digging. And that's all I'm using is a little hand trowel. Alright, I set it on all metals, as you could see. All those little bars would indicate anything that this detects. And just anywhere that I walk, it is literally littered with different metals. It doesn't stop, so I'm using a discrimination mode so I don't dig, because I'd be digging every square foot of this ground right now. Alright, we're going to finish up today. Someone left their Milwaukee's Best here. And found that big round object when the metal detector first went over it. It was indicating up in the silver dollar range. That's obviously twice as big as a silver dollar. A metal detector will detect metal and sometimes a round shape. So it did get fooled there. That next item is a file, old file. Another round object. It was reading on like 10 maybe. Don't know what it is. When I first saw this, I didn't know what it was. But about 10 feet away, yep, it's an old cook stove. And you see how perfectly that fits in there. So that other piece I showed you earlier was probably part of it. It was another 10, 15 feet away. So that's it. So just a bunch of relics that shows there was a house site here, right at the mouth of Cabin Run, right on the right fork of the Holly River. About a mile or so in a line to the Webster-Braxton line.